Life for Joe and Sarah had always felt like a beautifully predictable story. It was a story written in the quiet streets of their suburban neighborhood, a place where the rhythm of life was measured by the changing seasons and the comforting hum of a lawnmower on a Saturday morning. They were high school sweethearts, their love story having blossomed from shared notes in chemistry class to building a home filled with laughter and warmth. Joe, with his kind eyes, a friendly beard that was more salt than pepper now, and a gentle balding pattern he often joked about, was the steady anchor of their life. Sarah, his perfect counterpart, filled their home with an energy that was both vibrant and deeply comforting. They had built a life they were proud of, a life that felt safe and secure. But sometimes life has a way of introducing a plot twist you never saw coming. An uninvited guest arrived, not at their front door, but within Joe himself. The word cancer landed in the pristine, quiet space of the doctor's office with the force of a physical blow. It was a word that didn't belong in their story, a word that felt foreign and jarring against the backdrop of their peaceful existence. The drive home was a blur of unspoken fears and tightly held hands, the usual chatter replaced by a heavy silence that seemed to absorb all the sound from the world outside their car. That evening, Joe sat in his favorite armchair and looked out at the garden he had so lovingly tended, feeling a profound sense of everything he cherished, everything he was now fighting for. The days following the diagnosis were a whirlwind of emotions for Joe. Fear, a cold and persistent companion, would often creep in during the quiet moments, whispering doubts into the stillness of the night. Then there was confusion, a thick fog of medical terms, appointment schedules and statistics that seemed to swirl around him, making it hard to think clearly. He felt like he was adrift in a vast, unfamiliar ocean, with no map and no land in sight. His new reality was so different from the life he had become accustomed to with his steady job at the bank. Yet woven through the fear and confusion was another, more powerful emotion, hope. It was a stubborn, resilient flicker of light that refused to be extinguished. He was not a man to simply accept his fate. He was a fixer, a problem solver. Now he was determined to understand this disease and the treatments available to fight it. He needed a plan, a strategy. He and Sarah started compiling a list of questions for their oncologist, their shared notebook becoming a tangible symbol of their proactive stance. During their next appointment, the oncologist sat down with Joe and Sarah and spoke the word that would define the next phase of their lives: chemotherapy. Joe had heard the term countless times, but now it was real, it was personal, and it was being presented not as a monster, but as a powerful ally.
Joe became fascinated by the origins of his new ally. The story didn't begin in a pristine cancer research lab, but on the battlefields of World War I. During the war, soldiers were exposed to a terrible chemical weapon known as mustard gas. Doctors treating the survivors made a startling observation. These soldiers had remarkably low white blood cell counts. The toxic gas had severely damaged their bone marrow, the factory for the body's blood cells. This observation lay dormant until World War II, when a ship carrying mustard gas was bombed in Bari, Italy, releasing its toxic payload. This tragic event sparked a revolutionary idea in the minds of two pharmacologists, Louis Goodman and Alfred Gilman, who wondered, could a modified version destroy rapidly dividing cancer cells? In great secrecy, they developed nitrogen mustard. In 1942, they administered this new compound to a patient with advanced lymphoma who had no other treatment options. The results were astonishing. The patient's tumors began to shrink dramatically. Though the remission was temporary, it was a breakthrough of epic proportions. It was the first time a chemical had been systematically used to fight cancer inside the body, and it proved that the concept could work. For Joe and Sarah, learning this history was incredibly moving. To think that something so terrible could be repurposed into a force for good was a powerful testament to human ingenuity and the relentless pursuit of healing.
To understand how chemotherapy works, Think of the body as a bustling city. Most cells are good citizens, going about their business in an orderly, controlled way to keep the city running smoothly. Cancer cells, however, are like rogue elements that have forgotten the rules. They grow and divide uncontrollably, forming tumors and disrupting the normal functions of the city. Chemotherapy is like sending in a specialized police force designed to target and eliminate these disruptive cells. When chemo drugs enter the bloodstream, it's like deploying troops throughout the entire country. This is a key advantage. Chemotherapy is a systemic treatment, meaning it can travel almost everywhere in the body, hunting down escaped cancer cells wherever they may be hiding. The primary strategy is to disrupt the cancer cell's reproductive capabilities. Some drugs damage the DNA of cancer cells so they can no longer replicate, effectively halting their expansion. Other drugs are shaped like building blocks that the cancer cells normally use to reproduce and fool the cancer cells into trying to use them, only to find out too late that they are unable to do so. This is like starving a ravenous enemy. Some other drugs bind to the cancer cells so that they cannot function freely. Imagine cancer cells trying to photocopy themselves over and over. The chemo drugs act like a jam in the photocopier, stopping the production line in its tracks. Without the ability to multiply, the invading army of cancer cells cannot grow, and existing cells eventually die off without being replaced. For the first time, Joe could visualize the proposed treatment not as something being done to him, but as something working for him, a powerful ally coursing through his body, seeking out the enemy. He learned that chemotherapy, often used in conjunction with other modalities such as surgery, radiation therapy, and immunotherapy, could be more than a match for his cancer. Today's chemotherapy has evolved far beyond that first crude weapon. Scientists have developed over 100 different chemotherapy drugs, each with unique mechanisms for fighting cancer. This isn't just about having more options, it's about having smarter options. Doctors can now tailor treatment to the specific type of cancer a person has. By studying the specific biology of a patient's tumor, they can select the combination most likely to be effective. It's like sending in a multi-skilled special forces team instead of a single soldier. Modern medicine also has a whole suite of supportive care drugs, powerful anti-nausea medications, drugs to boost white blood cell counts, and treatments to protect other organs have made the journey much more manageable. The journey through chemotherapy was not one Joe would walk alone. For him and Sarah, the process of learning had transformed them from passive recipients of care into active, informed members of his healthcare team. Sarah became the chief logistics officer, the nutritionist, the cheerleader, and the unwavering emotional anchor. Her strength was a steady, constant force that created a safe harbor for Joe. Joe found a new kind of strength within himself. He learned to listen to his body, respecting its need for rest and discovering the therapeutic power of small, simple pleasures. Sitting in the garden, watching the birds, or sharing a laugh. These moments became precious anchors to normality and sources of profound healing. As he prepares for the battle ahead, he feels confident that he is part of a team of warriors, composed of him, his wife, and the doctors, nurses, and pharmacists who will provide the needed weapons against cancer. He expects that as weeks turn into months, there will be tangible signs of progress. Scans will show tumors shrinking. Energy levels will improve to when he will have more good days than bad. The side effects of treatment are being controlled better with new supportive medications. Poised to begin comprehensive treatment, Joe feels stronger than ever. His eyes shine with a light that wasn't there before, the light of a man who's prepared to face his deepest fears and emerge victorious. He and Sarah look toward the future, not with naive certainty, but with a richer, more meaningful optimism. They know life can be unpredictable, but they have the strength, knowledge, and love to face whatever comes. The cancer had tried to steal his story and to crush his spirit, but instead gave him a new chapter, one defined by courage, resilience, and unbreakable love. The sun is rising on a brand new day, and the time is rapidly coming when the word cancer, with the help of newer chemotherapy drugs and other modalities, will be just another hurdle to overcome. Already we have seen diseases which were previously fatal, such as Hodgkin's lymphoma and testicular cancer, now routinely cured with the use of chemotherapy. It is a remarkable and unforeseen legacy to the wartime use of mustard gas. In future videos, we will talk about more tools being used in the fight against cancer. The future is now.